Eldred, Doctorate in Athletic Training student through Indiana State University here. Today we're going to be going over my methods video. This is take number 2 for the methods portion of my research project. At this time I've had the opportunity to review some of the feedback that was given to me from my peers as well as professors and others who are involved with the project. Today we're going to be talking about the purpose and specific aims, experimental design, so what are we doing and how are we doing it, variables, participants, instrumentation, things like that. But to start off, many medical education programs have utilized different methods of education to improve the preparedness of students as they become practicing clinical professionals. However, athletic training until recently had yet to invest in a singular method of education, causing the preparedness of students to vary between universities. So what this means is in 2020 we'll be switching, the standards of athletic training will be changing, and at one point in athletic training education programs it will be required that there is a 4-week minimum clinical immersion setting portion, education portion, and what this means is that there will be no didactic information given to the students, so they will not be participating in classes at this time. So that will provide them with the opportunity to be fully immersed within an athletic training setting. Now, the reason we're looking into this is because it's unknown how the different models of clinical education affect the preparedness of students when moving from to practice regarding interprofessional practice, decision-making, patient care, things like that. One of the studies that we looked at, the preceptors said that for graduate assistants, when they were coming in, their evaluation skills were amazing. They were through the roof. But when it came to interprofessional practice, their demeanor, their ability to communicate, things like that, they really struggled and they were lower than what they should have been. And so what we're hoping is that we can examine how clinical immersion will affect those skills. So the proposed project is going to be the first step in providing vital feedback on the effectiveness and efficiency of an immersion education model from the stakeholders and preceptors' perceptions. I will be working hand in hand with another student who will be looking at the student perceptions. So we will be bouncing off of each other. So the central hypothesis of this project is that comparing the education outcomes from stakeholder perspectives of clinical immersion education will allow for better training to be provided to preceptors in preparing students for seamless integration to clinical practice. So this, again, as our aim, we'll be able to build off of this information and hopefully be able to provide better training to the preceptors. So as we're looking through this, the experimental design that we'll be using is a cross-sectional, so one point in time design. It will be a qualitative research design that will be conducted in the form of semi-structured interviews using a predetermined script which is currently being created. We will use a consensual qualitative research approach when analyzing the data, and the consensual qualitative research design will utilize the principal investigator and supervisor to maintain or to provide meaning to the data. So we will be interviewing people over a selected platform such as Zoom. Video will not be used, only audio. That audio will be sent out to an external auditor that we will pay to transcribe all of the information, and then we will review it. So once that happens, the people that we're going to be selecting, this is kind of the fun part of this. So we will be using, we'll reach out to different program directors that we know currently utilize clinical immersion within their education programs. And this will include both collegiate as well as secondary schools, anybody that's involved within the clinical immersion, because it will provide us more meaning to the data. So what will happen is we will send invitations out to program directors, and they will forward it on to the preceptors and the students. Then what will happen is preceptors and students will have the opportunity to click on either the preceptor link or the student link. And at that point, they will enter in their preceptor names if they were a student, or student names if they're a preceptor, the people that they're currently with. And then it's kind of like Tinder. It will be a matching game. It will be, okay, these two people put each other on their list. We're going to hook them up together, and then they will go through the clinical immersion portion of their program together. We'll do a pre and a post interview, and That way we're getting the most accurate data that we possibly can as it pertains to both preceptor and student. So we'll be using both of them, and we'll be using all, for my portion of this, we'll be using all preceptors possible, as long as they fit the criteria. Now, the inclusion criteria for this research project, apologize, I needed to sneeze. Oh, goodness. So we need to make sure that the programs are within their second cohort, because generally second year is when they do a clinical immersion portion of athletic training. Students need to be currently in an immersive clinical environment, and it needs to be a professional master's program. So those are the established criteria that we will be working off of. Again, once that criteria has been established, we'll determine optimal education programs. We'll reach out to them, recruitment again through program director, and we'll use that Tinder idea to get things out. So we'll do pre-immersion interviews with preceptors that will take place, preferably approximately about 20 interviews. The interviews are going to be sent out for transcription from an outside source. Hopefully we'll be given a grant, and if given, this will provide payment for this opportunity. Then we'll provide post-interview with the preceptors, preferably, again, approximately 20 interviews, and interviews will be sent out for transcription, and then we'll do completion of interviews, organize data, and present and write on our findings. So that is, in a nutshell, everything that will happen within the methods section of this project.